Hey everybody, this is D Hunter, bringing another action figure review. Today, we're going to look at the Fondjoy Dark Knight Trilogy Christian Bale Batman. I want to give a huge shout out to my boy Mark from Instagram for sending this my way. It is much appreciated. This is a 1/9 scale figure. They're supposed to be about 8 inches tall, but they're usually closer to 7 inches, which is why I get them. I heard these older Fondjoy figures were kind of bad, but I wanted to check it out for myself, so let's take a look at the packaging, which is a little beat up. So you can see at the top, DC, Batman 1/9 scale model figure kit, officially licensed DC merchandise by Fondjoy. Here's the front, Christian Bale Batman, kind of wraps around to the side, Batman, similar to the other side. On the back, here's a figure with a bunch of accessories. There's his barcode if it helps. So with no further ado, let's open him up. Alright, now that I got this figure out of the package, here he is with all the accessories laid out, and he comes with quite a bit of stuff. He has this very elaborate display stand, I hope that's awesome. He's got 8 interchangeable hands, 2 heads, and then his sticky gun launcher, batarang, and grapnel gun. Before I take a look at all that, let's talk about and check out this figure. So this is the Christian Bale Batman from the Dark Knight Trilogy. He's wearing the suit for the Dark Knight and the Dark Knight Rises. This is a Fondjoy figure, and an older one at that. And their older figures, they kind of suck. And this guy definitely looks kind of rough. Not horrible, but definitely rough. I believe they're going to be revisiting this guy with a version 2.0 sometime in the near future with their standards for today's releases. And Fondjoy has really upped their game. He's kind of on the tall side of things. Fondjoy is supposed to be 1/9 scale. They're supposed to be bigger than McFarlane, but they're pretty close to the McFarlane DC Multiverse figures. His legs seem kind of on the long side of things. So let's take a closer look. So, start with his head. Now, like I said, it doesn't look great. Barely looks good. It doesn't look awful. The shape of the cowl is decent. The mouth, paint job could be a little better. It just looks, I don't know, kind of fake, toyetic. The suit's okay. Once again, I don't know if it's the plastic or the paint, it just looks very toyish. And I know it is a toy, but you know what I mean? It just looks very fake. He's got these shoulders, which come out really far, but you can push them back in. It sort of helps your articulation, but makes it look hideous when they're like this. But you gotta be careful pushing them back in. Looks like he's got double ball joints here, double jointed elbows, double jointed knees. His cape, I can already see a few strings sticking out, and that's pretty damn annoying. See one right there, another one over here, so definitely some quality issues. He's got a bendy wire in his cape, but it just sort of dangles there. It's not attached to the top, so it's great. You can't pose it sort of going up, because it'll just fall down. Sure, I can have the bottom part doing this and dangling and around. That kind of sucks. Simply attaching at the top here would actually make it a usable bendy wire, and you could do all kind of poses, and now you're just sort of at the mercy of whatever. I don't know, the proportions just seem a little off, and it can be adjusted with how you sort of display and pose your figure. I like the little holster for his grapnel launcher. I mean, it's not all bad. It just seems very sort of shiny and plasticky. I don't know. I feel like the McFarlane figures have a little more realism, and then the Mafex and Mezco have even more than they do. Like I said, not horrible, not great, maybe good. Any closer look at his face and head sculpt. The sculpt of the cowl is not bad. The shape of the mouth and the ears, they got that right. It just doesn't look quite as crisp as I'd like, more realistic. I know we are talking about a toy here, but I think you guys know what I mean when I say that. And something I do like about the figure is how his armor has alternating blue and gray different panels. I think it looks pretty good. And then, here's the figure, broken down as far as it can go, with all of his removable parts detached. In addition to all these accessories, we also have instructions. It's really how to put the diorama together. Looking forward to checking that out. So you know what? Let's start off with that, the diorama. So here's this display stand, or diorama base. It comes in 8 separate pieces, and then here it is put together. So, we've got the sort of base there that says Batman has a Dark Knight Trilogy logo. And we have these bats sort of wrapping around. And I think it's a pretty cool effect. This plastic thing to help hold your finger in place. To tell you the truth, I think it probably looks better without that. More bats here on the side. I don't know, overall, I think it's pretty cool. It's pretty elaborate for a display stand. Like I said, I think it probably looks better like this without the plastic transparent holder in the middle. You can put your Batman in there. It should be cool. And to tell you the truth, it's a little snug for him. Now let's check out his hands. He has a total of 8 hands, 4 left hands, and 4 right hands. Here he is with his first pair of hands. These are his fists. And while we're looking at his hands, I wanted to point out that the blades on his gauntlets are in 2 separate pieces, just like in the film. And here's his second pair of hands. This is a pair of gripping hands. And his third pair of hands, this is a pair of gripping hands with trigger fingers. And his last pair of hands, these are a pair of open hands. They look like they could be some grabbing, choking, or throwing hands. Now let's look at his heads. He has 2 of them, one with a normal expression and one with an angry expression. Here he is with his first head. This one has the normal expression. And then his second head, this one has the angry expression. Both of them, the eyes look just a little bit weird, sort of lifeless and expressionless, and the paint job is way too glossy. And now for his bat gadgets. We have a little small gold Dark Knight Trilogy shaped batarang. Then we have his grapple launcher, and it actually sort of has 2 grapples up top, but I don't remember it being like that in the film. And then the sticky bomb launcher from the Hong Kong skydive scene. All pretty cool accessories. Glad to add them to the Bat Armory. Here's a look at Batman holding and getting ready to throw his batarangs. And then here's Batman getting ready to use his grapple launcher and glide away. And here, holstering that grapple launcher, which is a really cool feature. And here, holding the sticky bomb launcher. This is how he held it in the film. Now I wanted to talk about his cape. His cape is made of a cloth soft goods material. It's kind of rough feeling when you run your hand over it, and it attracts everything, hair and little specks of whatever. It has a bendy wire, which I do appreciate, and you can sort of give it some different sculpting shapes and whatnot. But the fact that it's not connected up here, like, damn near ruins it. It starts up here, so like all this is just wasted. You can't have it sort of hang up, or yeah, I can probably have it sort of glide to the side a little bit, but it just limp. It just sort of falls down there, and that sucks. Some little bit of tweak, if it was up here permanent, then you could do all this fun stuff with it, have it sort of floating in the wind, but as is, it just falls down. So I would say it's a fail with the cape. SH Figuarts did a similar thing with the cape. They didn't fully attach it, but I still think this one is even worse than theirs. And I've had some people say that the older Fondjoy figures are more or less just upscaled SH Figuarts versions, and I would say that is not the case. Yes, there are some similarities. They both have the holster for the grapple launcher. They both have the wire. But to tell you the truth, his is connected at the chest here. He looks way plasticky, more glossy, I don't know, just more toyetic. This guy looks more realistic, at least a little bit. Just the overall sculpting and all the details are a lot finer and tighter on the SH Figuarts version. And now that we've taken a pretty good look at both the figure and its accessories, let's check out his height. And that was something I was really curious about. From bottom to the top of his head, standing about 7.4 inches tall, which should translate to about 18.5 centimeters. And if you go to the top of the ears, about 7.6 inches tall, which means he's probably going to be about as tall as the McFarlane Hush Batman. And for his articulation, starting with his head, you can rotate side to side. You can look up about that far, down about that much. You can tilt his head from one side to the other. Pretty good range of motion there. Shoulders, they go way more than 90 degrees. They have this really sort of awkward, it's like a ball inside with a peg that goes into the shoulder. And when you pull it apart, it has this really big gap that just looks like shit. But that's just to give it more articulation. You can easily push it back in and make it look fairly flush and normal. Shoulder pads totally move out of the way. They're not going to hinder the articulation in any way, shape, or form. They can go up, they can go down, lift up, all that good stuff. Bicep cut below that. Double jointed elbows below that. His wrists can rotate and it is hinged. In his torso, he's got a ball joint to the top. Rotate around, forward and back at least a little bit. Another one in his waist. Rotate around, forward and back. Legs completely does the splits. Sort of ball joints inside of there. Drop down hips. Once again, they look really ugly like this. Just push them back up. Rotation is decent. The legs go forward about that far. Back, not at all. Double jointed knees, they go all the way back. And then his ankle. Forward and back. rotate, tilt rock at least a little bit, and toe articulation. And as I'm getting through this video, I don't hate this guy as much as perhaps I expected to, but there's a ton of things to not like about him. It does kind of feel like an upsized Figuarts bootleg version of Batman. The shoulder pads snap off the same way as the other one. The cape has some similarities, although the quality is much better than the other one with both the wire and the actual cape. He's got the holster, the way he's articulated. It is similar, but I'd say it's different. It's not just a one-up version of that. It's a completely different company made their own mold, and they probably took some inspiration. Really shiny, really glossy. I like his size, but his proportions seem a little odd. The legs seem a little long and thin. I'm not feeling the shoulders and how the legs have that sort of extending part that makes it look awful, but doesn't have to look bad all the time. So, like I said, I was expecting to be damn near disgusted by this guy because some of the other Fondjoy older ones I have are pretty bad, in particular Superman. But I'd say he's a little better than Superman. But still, those strings come out of the cape and that bendy wire. I mean, just plenty of fails with this guy. Here's a look at this Dark Knight Batman in the Batcave in front of the tumbler. And that was the McFarlane version of the tumbler. If you're curious if he fits, he does with complete ease and clearance. Now let's check him out. Next is some of their action figures. Starting off with some of their Dark Knight Trilogy Batman figures. Here's this Fondjoy Batman. Next is McFarlane DC Multiverse Dark Knight Trilogy Batman. Pretty similar size altogether. And McFarlane made a bunch of different versions of the Dark Knight Batman. And here, with a Mafex Dark Knight 3.0 Batman. And as you can probably guess, if that was a Mafex 3.0, there's also a 1.0 and a 2.0. Then, with the Moto King Christian Bale Batman. And now, with the in-art version. Next, with the Soap Studios version. 2 thumbs down for this guy. And here, with the Mattel Movie Master Dark Knight Batman. Then, next to the SH Figuarts version. And finally, with the Hot Toys 1/12 scale Dark Knight Batman. Here are all the Dark Knight Trilogy Christian Bale Batman figures that I have. From largest to smallest, by Fondjoy, McFarlane, Mafex, Moto King, InArt, Soap Studios, Mattel, SH Figuarts, and Hot Toys. Here's this Batman with the McFarlane DC Multiverse Dark Knight Trilogy Rogues Gallery. He fits in great with them. And then here, with the NECA Heath Ledger Joker. And there's really no point to compare him with the Mafex or Mattel Bat Rogues. They are far too small. And here, next to McFarlane, Lucius Fox. Then, with an older NECA Christian Bale American Psycho figure. Now let's check them out. Next is some other Fondjoy figures. Here's the Dark Knight Batman, next to the Dark Knight Joker. They're both kind of medium figures. I honestly thought I would hate them more than I do. I don't hate them. They're good. They're definitely not great, but better than expected considering they're some of the first Fondjoy figures to be released in this scale whatsoever. And here, with the Fondjoy Henry Cavill Superman figures, which are pretty rough and I actually think look worse than this Batman figure. And here, with Harley Quinn, Wonder Woman, and Cyborg. And I feel like with each release they got a little better. Harley Quinn leaves a lot to be desired, but a slight improvement. Wonder Woman still leaves a lot to be desired, but a little bit better. And then Cyborg definitely headed in the right direction. Then they released some figures from Aquaman 2, and it was a huge improvement. Not quite where Fondjoy figures are now, but damn close. And in fairly recent history, Fondjoy released a Ben Affleck Batman, Batfleck, and this completely put Fondjoy on the map. The figure was fantastic, excellent quality, excellent likeness, excellent everything. Like I said, this figure put Fondjoy on the map. This Dark Knight Batman sure did not. I now have 3 of these Fondjoy Ben Affleck figures, and they are fantastic. There's actually 2 more that need to get, the Nightmare Batman and the Tactical Suit Batman. Hopefully I'll have them soon. Quality is excellent on all these releases. They also released a Robert Pattinson Batman recently, and it was also fantastic. Here are all the Fondjoy figures that I have in my collection. I believe I'm missing 4 of them that are out. The Nightmare Batman, the Tactical Suit Batman, the Superman movie Superman, and Lex Luthor. If there are any other Fondjoy figures that are older that I'm not aware of, or that are currently out, please drop me a line in the comments below. It's much appreciated. Now let's check them out. Next is some action figures from different various companies, so we can see how he fits in both scale and style-wise, in case you want to know which lines you can mix him with. Since he's a Fondjoy figure, they're advertised as 8-inch scale, but they're closer to 7-inch scale. I'm going to start off my comparisons with some of the larger action figure lines I collect, and work with smaller, and I'm going to include as many Batman figures as I can during these comparisons. Here he is, next to several different McFarlane DC Multiverse Batman figures, and now, with some Jack-specific resin figures and Diamond Select toys, here's Batman next to Vanilla Cola, and here he is, with some DC Direct and NECA Batman figures, then, with both some Mattel and Jazzwares wrestling figures, and now, with some Mezco and Mattel Batman figures, next, with some Mafex and Hasbro Marvel Legends, and finally, with some SH Figuarts and Jazzwares Fortnite figures. So overall, it's kind of a nice Batman figure. I expected him to be complete garbage, honestly, but he's not quite as bad as that. And the more I look at him, the more I'm like, you know what, he's not so bad. I think the suit looks decent, the armor on him, and then I kind of look at the glossy paint, and the flesh color on the skin, and the bendy wire of the cape, and the string sticking out of the cape, and dumb things like that. And I think, yeah, he's pretty rough. But honestly, not as rough as I expected getting this figure. His accessories are actually pretty nice. The diorama base is kind of weird, kind of small, kind of snug, but should be useful for other things. Plenty of bat gadgets and hands, different heads, although I'm not very impressed with the angry head or the paint job, but either set of heads on the eyes. If I had to rate this guy, I'd probably give him a 6 out of 10, and I kept thinking, you know what, he's not so bad, he's worth more, and 6 is about what he's worth. Kind of went into this expecting to give him like a 4 out of 10, but he's not as bad as that. There are definitely a lot of redeeming things about this guy, but there's a lot of things going against him at the same time. I do believe Fondjoy has a 2.0 version of him, and that should be fantastic. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to an official solicitation. So this is D Hunter. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked the video, press like below. If you have anything you want to say about the video, add to the comment section. If you want to see additional action figure reviews from me, press subscribe. I do appreciate you do that. Once again, this is D Hunter. Thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you guys real soon.